Hey Sam,
Hey Aaron, how you doing?
good to see you, man.
Good.
So, will you take a few moments to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Sam Interrante. I am a professional portrait photographer and headshot photographer based out of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Been running this for about 4 or 5 years. I think this will be year number 5. It's been a blast.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know you had been doing it that long.
Mhm.
So you've done my shots, and they turned out excellent.
Thank
Thank
you. That was a blast.
Yeah, thanks, man. And I've seen so many different people now. Of course, Sophie, who was on my podcast, her shot was from you, and I just
Yes.
seen like your impact in the Lancaster area and in the world just from the people that you've shot.
Well, thank you. That's that about nails it on the head of
Yeah.
what I'm hoping to do.
How did you get into this? When did you know this is kind of what you wanted to do?
Um, it's a series of small definitive moments, in succession. So I got into photography. I kind of almost stumbled into it. But yeah, went for my BFA in fine art, focusing on photography from Millersville University. I wasn't learning a whole lot there, at least especially as far as business acumen, but I loved photography and I wanted to do that, and design, typography, just something in the digital media creative realm, something I could get my hands on. Photography is what stuck. I was working at a serving job at a restaurant after college and got picked up by a photography team in Lancaster. I worked there for a few months and learned a lot about the wedding industry, just how to have some basic workflow and how to interact with clients. And so that helped me go on my own for about 2 years as a wedding photographer. And uh, I kind of hit a point. I really loved doing it, but I hit a point where I just realized it wasn't my end goal. I was going somewhere else, didn't quite know where. And that's when portrait photography happened. It just merges my fascination with people, my love for people, and interest in people with a an art medium that I have found empowers people. And that's, I think, the main reason I love doing it. I don't really want to do anything else at this point. I just want to see where this goes.
I noticed you because you and I talked about it a little bit. I think you said I just like love on people. When
Yeah.
you're shooting, you're just like loving on people. Can you talk
hmm
a little bit about that?
I think it's when I'm at my best with people. There's obviously a certain level of, professional face you have to have, but I can't, I can't put on a show. I have to just be myself. I have to create a space where people feel comfortable. And I've learned even though it's very hard to do sometimes, being exactly who you are is what helps other people open themselves up.
Yeah.
I have a personable nature. It's just, I'm like my mom in that way. My dad has the outgoing personality. Um, so the big personality and the kind of empathy from my mother, is what created a headshot photographer here.
Wow, interesting. Yeah. I think about businesses and entrepreneurship as this vehicle to make the impact that we want to make in the world, to live out like a mission and a purpose.
Yes.
Feels like you're very much along the same lines. What would that be for you? Like what's the end game? I know it's a process, it's a journey, but
Yeah.
what's the impact? What's the mission for you?
The current dream is it's for myself and the world around me. It's kind of just the larger, the deeper understanding of what makes us unique, what makes us the same, what makes humanity what it is. Questions of compassion, empathy, and society is changing so rapidly, and we're trying to understand what good leadership looks like, for example. And a lot of a lot of the inspiration is from a photographer named Platon. He works in film. He's probably in his 50s now. He's just brilliant. He photographs world leaders and celebrities, and has an opportunity to learn from these people through these brief interactions. And I think that's something that's immensely valuable, something I personally value a lot. It's an opportunity for me and my subject to learn something new from each other. So I'm always learning something from people, from their shared stories, the walks of life that they're in, their experiences, their wisdom. So selfishly, like, I get a ton out of it. And in the case of something as simple as a professional headshot, to put on your LinkedIn website, they get a moment where they share themselves and they're super confident and they look amazing. And that's an opportunity for someone to shine. And I get to make people shine in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Platon, is that Platon?
Correct.
Okay, cool.
There's a really great Netflix bit about him from the Abstract series.
Interesting.
Looking at, yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you like to take photos of? Who's your ideal? Who do you want to like help shine or show a different side of in the world?
This may seem vain. It's just the first person that comes to mind, and it's been in the front of my mind for probably since I started taking portraits. Kendrick Lamar. I think he's fascinating. I love his music. I'm really fascinated by his lyrics and his mind, and I would love to sit down for even 30 minutes. I'd take 10 minutes too, whatever. But I'd love to sit down with him and just take his picture and listen to him talk.
Cool.
And I'm just a huge fan of his music. I think he is legendary.
Yeah. If anyone knows Kendrick Lamar, please see if you can make that connection.
Thanks. Have him give me a shout.
Yeah. Anyone else come to mind?
Just some huge entrepreneurs. Like Elon Musk, Gary Vee. They all have such unique energies. They have such unique presentations. And there's Gary on the front is extremely intense, but he's very emotional, and you can see his heart. And Elon is extremely composed. He's obviously a brilliant mind, and the way he presents himself is so subdued. And it's interesting to me. It's you can get a better read from people when you're in the room with them. And I just want to know what goes on inside their minds, like on a heart level, just curious. The things that they value, and what they do is telling of that. It's revealing, but people are complex. And I want to generally figures that are huge, that are untouchable. I want to meet on that more human level. That's what I'm fascinated by.
Are you like intending to show like a different side of them, or?
I don't know really what the end goal is. It's usually just I think you could say that on some level, yes, but mainly I sit with them, I listen, I photograph, and I see what comes out. And there's some of the lighting approach or approaches, the photo selection process. There's a lot of my hand in the work, but in a lot of ways, my goal is to have a raw, just truthful image of them, it may be the side that everyone knows. It may be another side, like you said.
Yeah, got it. It's whatever emerges in that meeting, in that
Yeah.
setting,
Yeah.
whatever is real in that moment.
Yeah.
Cool. So this brings us to kind of, because photography is your art, is your craft.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also like the business side of things as an entrepreneur. And that like dynamic is really interesting for the people that I work with, like how
Yes. Yeah.
to take a passion, an area like you've done, and create it into a sustainable business that generates enough money and sustains you so that you can also do like really big passion projects as well. So you're like a great example of somebody that has done that and is continuing to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I try to keep an eye on balancing what pays and what I love to do. You can't be overly idealistic. I think it's possible to strike a balance. I don't think you have to choose one or the other necessarily. Sometimes you do, but yeah, it's about striking a balance. You know, headshots, for example, are very straightforward. It's a very methodical process, which I enjoy. The lighting approach is almost the same. There's a subtle variation for men to women, but it's just something to make revenue. I love doing it, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But it's a consistent source of income. So, passion projects right now, there's a couple a year that are like those, usually one or two that are like, oh, this is a dream job. Last year was a little slow. 2020 was a little slow, of course, with the pandemic and everything. But there's always a lot to learn. Didn't do any like huge gigs, but I did learn a lot.
Yeah. What were some of those passion projects?
2020, was it? So March, there's the pandemic, kind of started the first lockdown in the Northeast, kind of, pretty much worldwide too, but things were starting to open up. And then there was the George Floyd murder. And that one I just internalized for some reason. It's like the lights came on all of a sudden, because I'd seen things like that before. And I look at the news and I'm like, that's a damn shame. Like, that's awful. That's awful. And then I go about my day, to be honest. And admittedly, it was, I don't know what it was. The case with George Floyd just really like struck a chord. And, I became very aware that I have a certain level of influence and an opportunity and therefore a responsibility to contribute, to help. So I just started a portrait project called Faces Against Racism. People make $100 donation and they get their portrait taken, and we ended up raising $11,000. We took 100 portraits. People just kept donating after the portrait thing was closed. It was amazing to see what a simple idea could create. All I had was a simple idea, and I have a skill with portrait photography, and just like did this fundraiser, and Lancaster just showed up. When I opened the doors, it was like floodgates, and it was amazing to see. It takes us just a spark to make a great, a huge fire.
Okay, yeah. So walk us through this, because this is really cool. Like, you had this idea. Like, how did the idea first come? Or like, is it like you're in the shower and you're like, I got to do this? Or...
I remember I was sitting on the balcony of my friend's apartment. It's like a condo in Baltimore, in this kind of nice area of town. And I'm hearing protests on the street, and I'm listening to choppers going over my head, and I'm seeing what's going on, people's live feeds on Instagram and the response. And I'm like, holy smokes. the idea came from anger. Yeah, like I said, it struck a chord, and suddenly connected in some way to what was happening, and that it's just ongoing. And it was just, I don't know, it kind of fell out of the sky. I was just really, I felt a deep pain, a deep burden for, my brothers and sisters, and responded with this kind of just like I said, a spark of an idea. It's a very simple concept, make $100 donation. I'll take your portrait. I'll put it on Instagram. You can post it as well and talk about what it is and what you're doing and spread the word. And we're going to raise a bunch of money and give that back to Black-owned community organizations and businesses in Lancaster, where I live. The biggest difference we can make is in the place that we live. We have to start with our communities.
So you had the idea, then you started telling people about it, and then you posted it on Instagram, or
I just started talking about it on Instagram like every day.
Yeah.
Sharing what I was learning, what I was finding out, resharing just, thoughts. It's really easy to fall into the sound bites and the echo chamber that is social media. Mm-hmm. And I think admittedly, it's just easy for the perspective to narrow a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the main thing I was trying to focus on, instead of condemning the darkness, is to talk about what we can do to look forward, to make a difference, to keep our eyes front.
Nice. And that's where the idea to donate to Black-owned businesses and organizations came in.
Yeah. People heard it and they reshared it, and then the word spread like crazy and all over. It just got around Lancaster really quickly. In a couple of months, I think like 2 or 3 months, we raised all the money. Yeah,
I saw it because the goal was 10,000, and you hit 10,000 like pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. For some reason, I thought I was going to do it in 2 days. That's how much of a whirlwind my head was in. I was in Baltimore, and I was like, all right, Saturday and Sunday, we're going to get 50 people each day, and we're going to do it. And, well, it took me 2 months. I don't know what I was thinking. Got a little caught up in the moment.
Yeah.
We got it done. It just took a little longer. It was a lot of work.
Yeah. That was like this past quarter, Q4 of 2020. I was like, I'm going to interview 30 people on the podcast. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. I'm just going to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm actually more at like 1 or 2 per month.
Yeah.
Goal to do 24 this year. So
everything takes more time than you expect. That's why you have to do the bite-sized pieces.
Yeah. So where's that project at? What's the impact of it? What's the latest? What's happening?
So Lancaster, Pennsylvania has an annual event called the Extraordinary Give, where we just kind of, this year it was definitely different with COVID-19 and everything, but there's just a giant party in the middle of the city at the Marriott Hotel, and it kind of spreads out all over the place. And in the hotel, there's a ton of computers set up where you can go in and donate to local businesses, or primarily nonprofits and charities and impact-based businesses, and basically just pump money back into the local economy. And it's this amazing thing. We're raising like $10 million a year now or something. It's wild. It's just like the production is getting bigger and bigger. There's more people donating every year. So during that, when you make donations, people will match them, so the donations go a longer way. So we finished the project. I had them all posted on Instagram, and donated the 11,000 between Deca City Farms, which is micro urban farming. It's the CSA. It's this 4 quadrants of a agricultural initiative, a really, really special one happening in Lancaster, providing produce. So we have farming, so food. The LGBTQ coalition in Lancaster has a queer person of color artist mentorship grant. And so we were able to do three $1,000 grants. So we have the arts, so we have food, we have the arts. Local impact with like high school placement. We donated to Advantage Lancaster, which is like college prep, and helping students find a vision and to move forward with their life. So they work with students in schools and high schools and middle schools. And I actually got to work with them personally. So I got a good idea of what they're up to, and it's very remarkable. And then the Lancaster NAACP for policy, essentially. So I was trying to hit a broad range to have the most impact possible. A lot of those nonprofits and companies did participate in the extraordinary give, so the donations I made were matched, and there was it kind of supercharged them a little bit. So that was nice. It was a good opportunity to do it. The timing worked out.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's an amazing impact.
Thanks. It's kind of surreal now. It was all happening in real time, and I just, sitting back and really thinking about it and talking through it, it's cool how far a simple idea goes.
Mm-hmm. And it's cool too, like, that's like one idea, and we get maybe one or two of those per year is my experience. Like, as an entrepreneur, I get maybe like one was starting this podcast was just like one idea that has a huge impact in the long run by following that thread.
Yeah.
And so it's like doing the things that like sustain the business, and also finding one or two, like you talked about, passion projects that we can really get behind, and our whole like heart and energy is behind, and that also like make a huge impact.
Yeah. The things where the heart is behind it are, watch out. It's cool.
How do you then make sure that also feeds back into making the business sustainable?
Oh boy. I mean, well, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, I don't know. It is for me, just as like a creative business person, like you said, the balancing art or craft and business, and using the two to optimize one another instead of having them fight against each other. I've just found whenever I'm passionately advocating period for people, for myself, wonderful things happen. So find something you care about, that you really, really care about. And that seems to be what, like, the success with the Faces Against Racism, like, blew me away. It was awesome. I didn't know what was going to happen. I wasn't sure if I was going to like raise $1,000 and be like, all right, I tried really hard, but like, it was insane. I've never seen a response like that to something I've done. And it was really cool. It speaks to Sean Akers studying. He studies happiness and psychology. And it's a book called Big Potential. It basically says the idea of one person with the cooperation of many, the outcome of that is significantly greater than the sum of its parts. So it has a lot with basically saying that we can't do things on our own. We can only get so far on our own. With the cooperation and initiative of even a small group, the impact just skyrockets. Like, it's huge. Mm. It's a interesting perspective, kind of business approach perspective on working as a team.
Do you have I can't remember, do you have a team yourself, or you just have people that you collaborate with? Or
I mean, I primarily work on my own still. I have people that I outsource a lot of efforts, like, website and workflow and stuff like that, but they're not ongoing. They're not employees or anything like that. We collaborate, or I hire them and they help me, put a piece of this business together.
Yeah.
What I was referring to is, all I had was a simple idea and a skill. And then, this project wouldn't have happened without the cooperation and group initiative of over 100 other people. So the impact is, like, I worked pretty hard. I definitely worked hard to put this together, but it would not exist at all without the group initiative.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm thinking through, I've been a part of that type of thing with the prison work that I do, where we go into prisons and volunteer. When COVID hit, it was on Zoom and all that, and with formerly incarcerated people. But it's like, if you can get, for anyone listening, if you can get kind of like an initiative, a movement that you really care about, and you can follow that and make the impact you want to make in that, that can also like kind of propel you forward and also feed back into the business in certain ways. Like for you, Sam, like that Faces Against Racism, I trust you even more than I already did. I will come back even more as a client. I will refer people. I know that wasn't the intention, but it's cool that also helps support you.
Yeah, I actually haven't thought about that, how that builds trust, or it just is telling of what I'm about. Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Let's go to what's not working for you. What's
not working?
What challenges are you up against? Like what?
I think we debriefed with this. My self-limiting beliefs. That's not the classic answer, but everything starts in the mind. And so if you have mastery over your mind, you can make things move much more effectively, much more efficiently. So what's not working? Not being diligent with mastering my mind. Mm-hmm. I know that I'm aware of the power of meditation. I've done meditating in the past. I got my yoga teacher certification. I learned a lot about, I learned a lot in that program and in general, my goodness. But again, mastery over the mind. And that's something I think I've trailed away from since completing the training. But it's certainly telling. So these are things, essentially what I'm saying is these are things that I'm very aware of. And lately I've been struggling to practice.
Yeah.
Winter is a little bit tough. I don't want to make excuses, but seasonal depression is a very real thing. And the lethargy is powerful. And I think it's very, very easy to justify, well, I have to work. There's work to do. To excuse not moving my body, not sitting down for even 5 minutes, let alone 30, to meditate and really get myself centered. Yeah. And of course, what you eat and your sleeping habits. It's just the regulation stuff. Mm-hmm. My mind moves at 100 miles an hour. So regulating myself is just it's an uphill battle. It's a challenge. The ride is fun. I'm learning a lot, and slowly putting it into practice in my life.
Regulating yourself. Can you explain that more?
Physical, mental, spiritual. Moving my body, practicing presence in my mind. I have a very squirrely brain, and it's a little bit of an oversimplification to just say this, but I think it's really valuable. Is like attracts like, opposites heal. This is a kind of a mantra that I learned at the Create Karma yoga teacher training. My brain moves fast, so I want to move fast. Everything's fast now. Impulsive, becomes opposites heal. So if I can get myself to actually sit down and write, to sit down and be alone, to sit down and just breathe and let the mind go, stop trying to control everything, I think it would have I know it has an incredible impact.
Yeah.
But there's an excuse every day not to get it done.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So
especially when you're trying to build a business, it's a great excuse, isn't it?
Yeah, right. It's like work is like, it can be an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the one that is most kind of widely accepted of all the addictions. It's like very easy to fall into that.
Romanticize, we glorify it in our culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. The grind, the hustle.
Right.
You could just work more effectively and probably a little bit less if you would take the time to take care of the mind, body, and spirit.
Yeah.
Again, things I know and seldom practice.
Well, how do you practice them when you do? So we can, I'll give some insights as well, but gives folks some tools or ways.
I think the really short answer, download Headspace and just practice it. Just start meditating 5 or 10 minutes a day and see what happens. And don't expect anything to change after your first 1 or 7 meditations. There's a kitty on the desktop. So he might be coming through here.
He wants to meditate.
He binks. It's a really, really simple, actionable, like bite-sized step. You can, or get a kitty, Hey. Come on. All right, I just made a mess for myself. All right. Yeah, simple 5 minutes of meditation, or just put a kitty on your shoulder like this, it can go a long way. If we are not sleeping enough, our body can't recover. I mean, it's really simple stuff. It's like, but how do we get ourselves to actually like get to bed earlier? It's sleep, diet, or I would say sleep, nutrition, moving your body, and practicing presence with the mind. Those are your 4. And hydrate.
Yeah, I got it. For nutrition, do you do anything? Do you track it in any way?
I have in past years, or when I get onto a new regimen to develop the habit. It really helps if you put a ton of focus into the thing, like just make it everything. When I was practicing keto to see how I would feel, to work on reducing inflammation and lose some weight, I went like completely balls to the wall on it, so that it's a good way to just to develop the habit. You can't get into something passively. It's really hard to do something passively. You got to go nuts just for a little bit, just for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks, go nuts, and it starts to stick.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly.
And also, make it fun. It's fun. I think when you track it, it's a lot easier to. Yeah, when you track it, it's easier to make it stick. Yeah.
I'll hit a few that I've been working on and thinking about, because you mentioned like attracts like, and we talked a little bit about visualization before we jumped on the call.
Yeah.
I've been doing like essentially like Michael Phelps visualization practice.
Okay.
So he was like coached on this by his athletic coach and mindset coach he would like relax his whole nervous system as best as he could, like kind of relax his shoulders, just like be in an upright posture, but like relaxed, which is tough to do, but if you can get it, it works really well. And then he would close his eyes and he would visualize the race, like every detail of the race, like going perfectly, going like exactly as he wanted it
Mm.
to, and also the different variations where it didn't go exactly how he wanted to. Like he mentions that his suit would rip, and so he would like practice, okay, get a new suit. Like he would practice that variation of the visualization.
Mhm.
So he said that when he competed, then he had done it so many different times with so many different variations, including the like worst case scenarios,
Mhm.
that he felt like he was just playing out the visualization that he had already done.
Mm.
So I've been playing with that and it's been really cool. Like
Yeah.
I do it for coaching or consulting or podcast interviews and see if I can visualize and play out exactly how it would work.
It helps you zoom out when it's actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
I notice the first thing that happens to me when I get really nervous, my brain goes blank. I can't say a word. Performing live, like I played piano since I was a kid, and I haven't performed in a while, but I used to when I was younger. And you get really nervous, my mind would go blank. It's like I've never played the piano before. It's terrifying. There was no visualization beforehand. It's like, oh, here we go. I practiced barely enough.
Right. Totally.
The art of over preparing is amazing, and that's part of that over preparing. You sit down and visualize something that you have to, a task or something you have to do, and something that's big for you, and all the possibilities of how it could go, all the nuances. Yeah. Hmm.
The other one that came up for me, because you mentioned opposites heal.
Yeah.
And I hadn't even heard that phrase. That's insightful. I'm sure I and many people are doing it um, intuitively or have come to it in a different way. But I'm curious, what does that mean for you? And then can you give us an example of opposites heal?
um like attracts like. You kind of, what you focus on, you create more of. I mean, I don't know if that's, no, I wouldn't start there. Opposites heal. Opposition also heals. Um, and that's one way to look at it. For example, a lot of people get up, if they can get their workout or their morning routine, their exercise, if they can get their physical workout in the morning, the hardest part of the day has already happened. And so that opposition, you get up and face that opposition immediately. The rest of your day is consequently easier. And so, you know, in the case of yoga, I am going to be inclined, kind of have a penchant for power vinyasa yoga, mind being intense. I'm an intense person, so I like intense yoga. I like intense things. A slower lunar practice, yin yoga, would be best for me. Not all the time, of course, but you know, just doing intense yoga all the time is just going to keep that intensity up. It's not always a good thing.
Yeah, got it. So it's like
Balance heals.
balance. So you like find the thing that you tend to lean toward, and then you go like, okay, what's the opposite of that?
Mm-hmm.
And then let me lean toward that a bit to like get back toward the middle of this spectrum.
Yeah. Yeah. My intensity is a good thing until it isn't, until is going completely unchecked without balance, without the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Reminds me of
pulses and go the other way.
like the Tao and like yin and yang and some of those kind of Eastern philosophies and spiritualities.
Yeah. Yeah. Yin and yang is all about balance. It's just that's that kind of anything, I don't know, are you familiar with the Enneagram?
Mm-hmm.
So, 9 different personality types, and they are all, none is better than the other. They can all be healthy or unhealthy, and so balanced or unbalanced. No matter how you are, if you're more stoic, a quieter, more grounded person, or grounded appearing person, you have your balance or you have that has its strength until it's imbalanced. I think in my mid-20s, I wanted to be someone different. I didn't like how high energy I was, how excitable I was, and I felt like I was just too much to everybody all the time. And, over time, you kind of get over yourself. It's like covert narcissism or something. Stop caring so much and realize that you're exactly who you're supposed to be. You can just refine who that person is. I can't change who I am. So I finally I stopped trying to change myself. There's nothing to fix, but there's just something to balance.
Let's go to what's next for you, Sam. Where are you headed? What are you looking to create?
I want to teach other photographers what I do. I think it's a really viable business. Like headshot photography, for example. People want to learn portrait photography for a number of different reasons. They may not all be business related, but I think both for the business and the craft, there's something very valuable, and I want to share that with people. So, I've done a few workshops in past years, but I want to really dive into this for that greater impact. I love what I do. It's just it's so good for so many reasons, and I want other people to get to experience that. It's really, really exciting. I mean, I nerd out with my photography so hard, and it's really cool to share that with other people, with aspiring people that like value what I have to say enough to pay me for it. And that's exciting and terrifying. Imposter syndrome shows up a lot, but basically just like kick it in the face as much as you can. You try to be present to that and just go anyways. Share what you know. I'm never going to have it all figured out. I was never supposed to. No one's expecting me to. I just can share what I currently know. And that's the perspective I try to work from, because I'm learning so much again all over in my craft. And I'm feel like a total baby again, like I'm new, but I've been doing this for 5 years. So trying to kick aside what I feel and just go by what I know to be true. So teaching is something that's really, really life-giving.
Who would be in the workshops, like future photographers or just anyone who wants to try as a hobby, or both? Or
yeah, currently I would say photographers that are already fairly well seasoned but want to learn studio lighting, studio portrait photography, headshot photography, in that realm. So the 4 main things that go into that as far as the craft are working with subjects, helping them get comfortable on camera, lighting, post-production, what gear is out there. So it kind of breaks down into 4 quadrants and gives them everything they need to know in the realm of the craft.
cool. You have anything planned? Is there anything that
building an email list? I recently hired a friend she's a marketing expert and is helping me. She put together a 6-week program for me to work on building my email list, to get familiar with software like ConvertKit, which is kind of like a upgrade from MailChimp. Trying to get away from MailChimp. Oof, they're tough.
Okay. Yeah, got it. So if people are interested in that specifically, what should they do? Should they get on your email list, or?
Yeah. Opt-in form is on the link in my Instagram bio. I think the opt-in is also on my website. I'm not sure at this precise moment because I'm in transition of having a new website that's going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. So www.saminterrante.com, and there's a opt-in there.
Okay.
Or on Instagram at @Sam_Interrante.
Anywhere else you want to highlight on the internet as far as where to find you?
Those are really the two main ones. The email, subscribing to my newsletter especially, is where, everything is told through there.
Cool.
The day-to-day is on Instagram. So that's a lot of fun. Instagram's fun.
It is.
I'm not on Facebook. Don't talk to me on Facebook. I don't like Facebook.
Yeah, it's
I probably won't see your message, and I apologize in advance. There's too much noise and my brain can't take it. So Instagram's just like a fun visual platform, and I can go in my stories and talk about what I'm doing at the studio and stuff. So
what else would you like to leave folks with, if anything?
The age-old believe in yourself stuff that you learned in elementary school, it's all true. Turns out they were right. If you don't believe in what you're doing, you're not going to get there. Like, it's that simple. So you have to get real with the thoughts that are going on in your head and examine them. Write it down. Just free write for a while, for like a week, a month, whatever, or for the rest of your life. And get real with what's going on in your head. Ask some people that you know, love you, that you trust. Ask them hard questions, like, when am I at my best? When am I at my worst? Yeah, because you gotta get real with what's going on. It's easy to kind of live out a fantasy or a romanticized version of our life, but we got to get real with like what our strengths are, what our strengths are not. And so, write about it, ask people that you know, and get a hold of the thoughts going through your head. If you have a lot of negative self-talk, that's going to be hugely problematic, and it's going to slow you down.
Absolutely. You mentioned free writing. I free write most days. I just jot things down. I just grab a piece of paper and just jot it down. I don't come back to it. I know some people do. I just get rid of it, to be honest.
Just getting thoughts physical on a piece of paper. I just
literally get them out. And then I'm like, that's there. I didn't even realize that was there.
Yeah, it's almost like you're surprised even as you're writing it. It's like when it's only in your head, you're not responsible for it somehow. When you write it down and you look at it, it's like, oh my goodness. Like, I wouldn't talk about my best friend like that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of negativity, I think, sometimes that we're not aware of. If you don't believe in yourself, if you don't advocate for yourself, no one's going to. So every single thing I've ever done in my professional career, in my life, really, any achievement that I've made was a direct result of me truly advocating for myself. I didn't get anything passively. You can't just hope people are going to see it. If you're not confident, people won't be confident in you. It all starts inside. It's your relationship with yourself.
That's a perfect ending, my friend. Let's wrap there. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, man. This is nice talking to you again.
Yeah, absolutely. Really appreciate it.